Hi there, welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am Theodore Henry. In today's show, important things to know and do to help keep your children safe in the new school year. Plus, agricultural students aspire to make positive changes in the sector. Later, HealthWise examines the prevention and treatment of cervical cancer. Sit back and relax for these and more to come as we turn the pages of Jamaica Magazine.
Si Marcia husband, him a one of the biggest juggies.
Wait, somebody a scream.
Lord, them a bundle price work and never pay the extortion money.
Who them man there? How would them a do the Jackie little daughter?
It's serious times. Speak up for justice and keep your eyes open. When you hear about any crime, report it. Silence brings violence.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
As Prime Minister, acting in accordance with the advice of the National Security Council, having reasonable cause to believe that due to rampant criminality, gang warfare, escalating violence and murder, and the threat to the rule of law and public order, I have officially declared the first zone of special security and community development operations under the law reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act 2017. The gazetted order of the declaration is dated Friday, September 1, 2017. The said zone shall operate for a period of 60 days. The zone is now declared in the Mount Salem area and environs.
This zone is bordered as follows. In the north, starting at the intersection of Mount Salem Road and Catherine Drive and continuing east along Mount Salem Road to the intersection with Clark Street. The eastern boundary, starting at the intersection of Mount Salem Road and Clark Street, continuing southwest along Clark Street to Catherine Avenue in the vicinity of the entrance to a track. South from the entrance to the track on Catherine Avenue, continuing along a section of gully course that forms part of the southern boundary to the Mount Salem community to a projected point at the eastern end of Jarrett Terrace along the said roadway to the intersection with Catherine Drive. And the western boundary, starting at the intersection of Jarrett Terrace and Catherine Drive, continuing north along Barrett View Drive, and then to Catherine Drive to the start point at the intersection of Mount Salem Road and Catherine Drive.
In 2014, there were 46 murders recorded in Mount Salem and its environs. In 2015, this rose to 70 murders. In 2016, the figure was 85 murders. So far this year, 54 murders have been recorded. There are 12 major gangs operating within the space. While some of these gangs are not actually domiciled within this geographic space, they do continue to have significant impact in Mount Salem, and they are spreading their influence right across the St. James community. The objective of the zones of special operation is to disrupt and dismantle these gangs and create a safer community.
The National Security Council took the deliberate decision to carefully sequence the implementation steps as we learned from past mistakes. We also wanted to ensure that we complied with the legislative requirements. Among the issues that we worked through and addressed were the following: additional training in human rights, the use of force and community development initiatives of persons to be deployed as members of the joint force, registration with the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine of weapons, including the ballistic signature and ammunition that are to be assigned to members of the joint force. Every single weapon that is going to be used within a zone has already been registered with the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. Approval of the method by which the identity of each member of the joint force who will be conducting operations within the zone may be ascertained.
All members of the zone, within the zone, will be identified. All persons will be identified by a personal name tag, depending on the type of uniform they're in, and also by a special patch, as you see here, indicating joint force.
In accordance with the written nominations of the Chief of Defense Staff and the Commissioner of Police, I have designated Major Godfrey Sterling of the JDF and Mr. Kirk Ricketts, Superintendent of Police of the JCF, to be jointly in charge of operations within the zone. I am pleased to indicate that I shall appoint Mr. Omar Sweeney, Managing Director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, as Deputy Chairman of the Social Intervention Committee that is to be established within 5 working days of the declaration of a zone. Under the law, within the zone, the Joint Command has the power to establish cordons and impose curfews. The Joint Force has the power to search without a warrant. In connection with a search, the police, not the army, the police has the power of seizure. Persons may be arrested and or detained. However, none of the given powers may be arbitrarily exercised. We have built safeguards into the law, and the joint force understands that those safeguards must be respected. It is our intention to keep the public informed, particularly those law-abiding residents living within the zone that we have first declared.
We encourage the participation of the media to keep the public informed, and protocols have been established for the involvement of the media. First, we ask that you be accredited, and accreditation is being managed through the Jamaica Information Service. Once you're accredited and you would like to enter the zone, we ask that you make contact with the commanders on the ground so they're aware of your presence. We do not anticipate any significant restriction to your movement, subject only to issues on the ground that might affect safety and security.
As you are aware by now, this is a new law for special measures for upholding and preserving the rule of law, public order, citizen security, and public safety within certain geographically defined areas of Jamaica. One of the main index that would be used is the reduction in murders, the return of public order, the assessment that the community has been engaged, that the community building exercise is successful and entrenched, that the peace-building exercise is successful and entrenched, and a general determination that the community is now in a state where it can manage its own peace. The use of the zones is a significant measure, but it is only one in a suite of responses to our crime problem. The rule of law must be upheld and preserved in every nook and cranny of Jamaica. We can no longer afford any area to provide a safe haven for criminals to hide. Zone by zone, community by community, square inch by square inch, we will establish and restore public order, citizen security, and public safety. We will make Jamaica safe again.
In enabling our children to achieve their potential this school year, their safety, care, and protection is absolutely critical. It's not just parents who must do this, though. Communities also have a role to play. The Child Development Agency tells us more.
See, the primary responsibility is to ensure that children, the care and protection of children and children who are at risk. So that's our mandate. We know that some children have to traverse the roads going home. They walk. We ask them to walk in pairs or in groups. We ask them not to play on the road, you know, because they get distracted. For the bigger ones, we ask them not to use their mobile devices on the road because you are not as alert as you should be when you are distracted. As best as possible, accompany the child or have somebody accompany them. If you have a taxi person or a bus that picks them up, make sure you know the persons who are taking the children, you know. Make sure you know the time they should get home. Have some way of being in contact with the drivers during the period to make sure that they are home when they should be home, so that if anything happens, you have a shorter window for action. What we want to say to teachers, know the students, know them, know their habits, know the general department and how they present themselves each day. So if there's a change in that, a child who is very talkative, all of a sudden not talking, withdrawing, a child who is crying, of course there are the physical signs, a child with a broken arm, there's a burn mark, and if you use an iron to burn a child, you would see the mark, that kind of thing. So we ask them to be very observant. We ask them, and I know the PTA is very critical, so you get to know your parents, you get to know your teachers, right? So we ask the teachers, as best as possible, get to know the parents, so that if there is a change in behavior, even a slight shift, you can inquire as to what is the situation. Obviously, you could have the grades falling, for example. A child who is in kindergarten starting to wet themselves again. And so if there is an issue, they have to do the regular reporting to the OCR. They can report directly to the CDA as well. We have responsibility for wards of the state. And I really want to appeal to our teachers, our school community. We don't want them to treat the wards of the state as being different from any other child. They talk about being stigmatized, we talk about the children who are on path, people really give you some horror stories about how they are treated. We want to encourage our school community, just treat them as any other child, right? Some of them have some special needs, need probably a little more help, but we are asking that as best as possible look out for the children. And our special needs children who are not like others in terms of physical sense probably, or even intellectually. we're asking that special provisions must be made for them within the school community.
Stand up and get in the race.
I can become the master of my destiny.
Step up your stride, make we work like a harder. Do it like Veronica, more than a supper.
We can rise above the challenges and shine.
Was with passion in your heart. Make a plan and stop all the idling. You think I saw? We reach at the edging. I can, you can. Like our Olympians, every Jamaican can.
Agriculture plays an important role in our economy, providing food for our sustenance and raw material for other industries. It also feeds rewarding careers. And with the future of farming hinged on scientific progress, more and more young people are aspiring to get involved in the sector's revolution. Watch this.
I'm studying general agriculture. I want to be a veterinarian.
Bioengineer. I want to manage my own agricultural business.
They are the future of the agriculture sector and are working towards making a significant impact.
You have certain crops in Jamaica that are being depleted. I would like to re-engineer those crops and bring them back into the world. I'm planning to do something similar to this, or if I can fine-tune the same thing and rename it into a brand that I can offer to the economy, I want to do this.
This is the KISA model, a project that highlights an approach that can be taken by farmers to treat recycled water on their farms to irrigate field crops.
The main purpose of this layout right here is to have an environment where we try to have less economic problems, try to build up a system that is economically and environmentally friendly.
The idea and design came out of a need to implement such a system on the grounds of the Hanover-based agricultural school. The Nakalva students also believe that the KISA model will be able to sustain farmers through periods of low rainfall and drought. Here's how it will work. Say you are a pig farmer. Each time you wash the pig pen, that water can be channeled to various treatment points. The water, along with the waste substance, will then pass through a biodigester, allowing you to produce your own energy for your farm as well as manure.
In the biogas digester, anaerobic bacteria breaks down or digests the material and releases a gas known as methane gas. This methane gas is then sent to the control station where our generator converts this gas into energy and is used up on the farm on a day-to-day basis. So after the biogas digester, the solid part of the material is sent to the drying bed. In the drying bed, it is left open where it can be dried completely. After it is dried, the material is then used back in our outfield and our greenhouse as organic material or manure.
Following that is the water treatment process. The liquid from the drying pond is sent to the anaerobic pond, which is the first stage of treatment.
In this pond, there's a substance known as BOD. BOD is biological chemical oxygen demand. This is the amount of oxygen that bacteria requires to break down organic matter. It is reduced by 85% in the anaerobic pond, and in the second pond, which is the facultative pond, it is reduced by 95%. In the facultative pond, algae is present to add additional oxygen to the water by photosynthesis. And doing this, the algae also removes nitrates and phosphate, therefore purifying the water a little further.
From here, water moves to maturation ponds 1 and 2. This process is to move coliform bacteria.
Anaerobic respiration occurs at the bottom of the pond. The main purpose is to reduce pathogens like bacteria, viruses, E. coli, and no chlorine. Then it will travel in a channel to storage pond, where the water stays there.
This storage pond will also facilitate rainwater harvesting.
This harvested water is used to lower the pH of the water stored in the storage pond, and it is also used to spread out the level of pathogen in the water. This is done because there is a recommended level of pathogen per liter in the water, and doing this will reduce the amount of concentration of pathogen in that specific liter. After the treatment of the water, it is then sent to the control station where the generator and pump is activated, and it is dispersed into our outfields and in our greenhouse irrigation system.
So I believe that this is one of the best ideas that all Jamaican farmers should partake in. Not only that it is very beneficial to our economy, it is also beneficial to your pockets. To get this started, it is not really an easy process, but over a period of time you'll realize that because you are creating your own energy, you don't have to go ahead and buy water, because you're the one reusing, recycling your water, you're the one harvesting your water, you're the one treating it, so you don't have to pay to do all of those processes.
It is this application of technology and innovation within the agriculture sector that is being promoted by Portfolio Minister Caenwood.
We have to become technology savvy, and we have to introduce it at all elements of agriculture, because that's the only way that we are going to be on the cutting edge of competition.
And the Minister Caenwood is encouraging young people to be part of this transformation by choosing areas of agriculture as careers.
The future of Jamaica's agriculture must rely on the wisdom of the old, but the energy of the young. They are the ones who are going to carry this process forward.
Conjunctivitis, otherwise known as pink eye, is caused by viruses which enter the eye through contaminated surfaces such as your hand, wash rags, cosmetics, handkerchiefs, contact lenses, and other personal items. Symptoms include redness, watery, itchy, and/or burning eyes, as well as hypersensitivity to light and grainy feeling in the eyes. To prevent pink eye infection, do not share makeup, eye drops, wash rags, towels, or pillowcases. Also, avoid coming into contact with persons with pink eye. If you experience symptoms of pink eye, wash your hands with soap and water regularly. Avoid rubbing the eyes and see your doctor. Do not attend school, work, or other crowded places until the infection clears up. For more information, visit the Ministry of Health website, moh.gov.jm.
Cancer of the cervix is one of the leading causes of cancer-related deaths among Jamaican women. But innovation in the management and treatment of the condition can prevent this illness and even save lives. Learn more in this next feature.
It's an awful multiplication of cells out of the normal that take over your system rather than the normal cells. That's what it is.
According to the Ministry of Health, in 2010, 3,198 persons died of cancer, accounting for 24% of all deaths in Jamaica. The common types found in women are cancers of the breast, cervix, and colon. On the other hand, cancer of the prostate, lung, and stomach are more common in men. The good news is doctors say that these illnesses are largely avoidable. And the doctors say prevention and early detection are our best defenses, even while the level of treatment and care is improving. In addition to promoting healthier lifestyle, government and its private sector partners are revolutionizing the gamut of care, with 2 linear accelerator machines purchased to provide timely and efficient access to cancer care treatment. Our most vulnerable patients are targeted to have access at no cost at centers of excellence being established at the St. Joseph's Hospital and the Cornwall Regional Hospital.
Changes in standard of living, introduction of screening methods, and public health education and promotion have impacted the distribution of cancer seen in Jamaica over the years. This trend is expected to continue at least in the short term, as public health education increases and screening becomes more widespread.
In the case of cervical cancer caused by a viral infection from the human papillomavirus HPV, the pap smear is considered the best screening method to date.
And the reason for this is that a screening method should be able to find a disease before it has become established, find it in the precancerous phase, be easily accessible, not very invasive, inexpensive, and universally available. The pap smear satisfies all of that sort of criteria.
The pap smear is not an actual test for cancer, but rather a test to detect the presence of any abnormal cells with the potential to develop into cancer. The result from this painless process is used to inform decisions about what treatment to apply to prevent cancer from developing.
A sample of cell is taken, sometimes even with a little brush, so there's no scraping and clipping and all of that like what the perception is out in the street.
Squamous cells, which are cells lining outer layers in areas such as the lung, hand middle, mouth, vagina, and cervix, are usually affected by the human papillomavirus. The virus gets to the cervix during intercourse and has the ability to transform the normal cells into precancerous ones.
You hardly ever get cervical cancer in women who have never had sex. From the getting the virus to getting cervical cancer can take 15 years or more.
The recommendation is for annual screening to detect, monitor, and treat with any incidents or progression that might be taking place.
The next reason for annual checks is that there is no test that is 100%. You know, all tests have false positive and false negative. You could do a smear and it is normal, but something is there. But if you keep doing it, it will pick up something.
Abnormal smears can be treated in the precancerous stage by methods that include freezing, cauterization using electricity, and what is called the loop. That is, removing the bad area and having what is called a cone to abort the process. Where cancer has developed, treatment will involve radiotherapy and chemotherapy and possibly major surgery. In an aggressive move to reduce local cervical cancer cases, the government of Jamaica has taken a decision to introduce human papillomavirus HPV vaccines to protect against high-risk strains of this family of viruses. HPV vaccines are recommended for preteen girls and boys ages 11 to 12, providing immune protection from the virus before exposure.
We have two types. We have one that has, they call bivalent. It vaccinates against two types of HPV, 16 and 18, because HPV are numbered. And there is one that is quadrivalent that vaccinates against 6, 11, 16, and 18. 6 and 11 vaccinate against genital warts, while 16 and 18 vaccinate against 70% of cervical cancer.
There is a new vaccine yet to be introduced that vaccinates against 9 types of HPVs. This has the potential to prevent up to 90% of cervical cancers.
We are going to do better when we have the cervical cancer HPV vaccines.
Take the necessary actions to stay healthy. Get screened yearly, eat well, exercise, and get vaccinated.
And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Join us again tomorrow where we'll do this all over again. Until then, you can click online at jis.gov.jm and visit our YouTube channel to get the latest government information. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and download our app from the Google Play Store to stay informed while you're on the go. I'm Theodore Henry, wishing for you peace and prosperity. Take care of your health, exercise, eat well, get adequate rest, and make every day a productive one.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.